Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In this tutorial, we're going to continue where we left off on the previous ones. Actually, the previous four, where we were finding various envelopes, and we're going to use those find routines and see how we can expand on that a little bit more. Let's say we wanted to find a specific envelope, and then we wanted to add 4 points on that envelope based upon the selection area on the screen. And so in this tutorial, we're going to use those find envelopes and then add 4 points onto the envelopes based on the selection area. And so let's see how that will be done. We'll do our testing with 3 different envelopes, and then we'll see the envelopes on the screen. But first, let's look at the project. Here's the project I have, and we'll see that we have 1 video and 1 audio track. On the video track, we have a composite envelope here, and then on the event we have a velocity envelope, and then on the audio track we have a volume envelope. And so these are the only envelopes we're going to deal with, so we're going to search for each one of these envelopes, and then we're going to add 4 points based on this selection area. And so it will add up 1 point at the beginning of the selection area, 1 point at the end of the selection area, and then 2 more points 1 second over from each end. Here's the code we're going to use to do that. Here's where I'm setting my 4-point distance, and I'm setting that to 1 second, so it's new time code, and then just the 1 second as a string. And then I'm getting my region start as a time code from myvegas.transport.loop region start. And then my region length is myvegas.transport.loop region length. And that tells us where the loop region is on the timeline. Now remember, that's slightly different for the event than it is for the track. The track, we can just use these numbers. The event, we have to take into account that the event may not start at the beginning. So let's look at an event first. Remember, we're looking at a video event. So I have a video event, the event. I'm converting my event to a video event, but I'm getting it from myvegas.project.tracks0.events0. So that will be the video event on track 1 on the timeline. Then I'm going to search for a velocity envelope. Notice this is type envelope. I'm looking for a velocity envelope, and I'm going to find a video event envelope. I'm passing it the video event, and then I'm telling it I want the envelope type of velocity. And then I'm going to set the 4 points, passing it the velocity envelope, and then I need to tell it where the region beginning is. Now this is where it's slightly different than the other two, because we have to take the position of the event into account. So I'm taking region start minus the video envelope dot start. Then I'm going to pass it the 4-point distance and the region length. We'll look at this routine in just a moment, but let's go ahead and see how we're going to do the other two. The next one is a video track, which I'm getting from myvegas.project.tracks.0. And on this one, I'm going to look for an envelope called composite envelope, or comp env. So I'm going to find a track envelope, passing it the video track, and looking for envelope type.composite. Naturally, remember, our find routines will pass back null if it's not found, so I should technically be checking for null, but I know these are all there, so I'm not checking for null right now. And then we call 4 points again, passing it the composite envelope, and then in this case we just pass it the region start because it's a track, and so we don't have to take anything into consideration for the beginning, and then the 4-point distance, and then the region length. And then we're going to do the same thing with an audio track. In this case, we're getting the audio track equals myvegas.project.tracks1, which is the second track, which is our audio track. I'm looking for an envelope called a volume envelope. So I'm going to find track envelope, pass it the audio track, and looking for envelope type.volume. Next, we're going to call set 4 points one more time. We're going to pass it the volume envelope, region start, 4-point distance, and region length. So once again, we don't have to take any changes to the region start like we did up here, because this is at the track level. So now let's look at this set 4 points routine. Here is our set 4 points. We're passing it an envelope. It's a generic envelope. A time code where it's going to start in that envelope. A distance for the inside points. And the region length to how long is this region going to be. First thing I'm going to do is get the actual value at this first point location. Then I'm going to set a point on this envelope at this location at this speed. Now we're going to use the same speed all 4 times. Technically, we could go through and say if the speed was changing over time, then we could adjust that speed if we wanted to. I'm not taking that into account for this example. Now, our second point, we're going to set a second point, once again on this envelope, only this time we're going to do the point lock plus the 4-point distance. For our third point, we're going to set another point on the same envelope, and we're going to do it at the point location plus the region length minus the 4-point distance. So this will get us to the right side and then backward the distance that we wanted to the 1 second in this case. And then our fourth point, we're going to send it the same envelope, and this time it's the point location plus region length, so this will be at the right edge, and then once again the point speed. So now let's look at this routine, the set point that we have now just called 4 times. And here's the set point routine. We're passing in an envelope, a time code, which is a location, and a double, which is the value for the point. So now I have an envelope point, A equals my envelope dot points, and I'm going to get the point at X. So the question is there already a point at this location? If A is null, then I'm going to add a new envelope point at this location with this value, and then I'm going to add this point to this envelope. So envelope.points.add A. Otherwise, if this point did exist previously, I'm just going to set it to this value. The set point will look to see if a point exists. If it does not, it will create and add it. If it does, it will just change the value and then return back up here. So now we also have these routines down here, which is our find track envelope, find bus envelope, find video event envelope, find fade envelope. These are all the routines that we had looked at in the previous 4 tutorials. And let's see how this works. So we have our selection area on the timeline. We run the script. And you will see now on this volume envelope, I have a point here, a point here, a point here, and a point here. Same thing with the velocity envelope. We now have 4 points. This was the first one that was set, the second point that was set 1 second over, and then over here at the end, minus 1 second is the third point we set, and then at the end is the fourth point. And then if we look up here at the composite envelope, you can see we have our 4 points here as well. Once we get rid of the selection area, you can grab any of these envelopes in between these 2 points, and it will just move that section down or up, depending on which direction you go. So if we needed to lower between those 2 points, then this will give us a 1 second fade down. Then we'll go across, and then we'll do a 1 second fade up on the volume. So that shows how we use the routines that we had from the last 4 tutorials for finding envelopes to find an envelope, and then we've added 2 new routines which will let us add 4 points across that found envelope. In the next tutorial, we're going to look at another kind of request that was made. How can we put all of these routines, since these are now common routines that we can use in lots of places, how can we put them somewhere that we can use them across multiple projects without having to re-enter them in every project? So we'll get to that in the next tutorial. We'll see you next week.
Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.